What's up, guys? This is Chris Rickenbaugh with the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 169, and I got some cool news today that our first Airbnb is live. So I wanted to document, from when I bought this house over 2 years ago to becoming an Airbnb. So I want to break down all of that for you today. And I am using this podcast to document my journey in real estate and business, and also bringing on high-level investors to share their stories and how they built their businesses. So we have some really cool interviews coming up, starting next week with Tommy McGill, who's a Charlotte local and doing the build-to-rent strategy. And we've also got some other podcasts lined up for the coming week. So make sure you tune into that. But if you want to follow me and check out my story, my socials on Instagram and TikTok are chris.rickenbaugh, and that's chris.reichen.bach. And if you want to listen to this podcast, stay right where you are, or you can listen on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and Amazon. So let's hop into the content for today. So our first Airbnb is live, and man, it has been a little bit stressful trying to figure this thing out. So I want to start from when I bought this property, kind of what those numbers look like on the rent, and be able to start from there. So I bought this house a little over close to 3 years ago now. And the house was bought for the purpose to be able to move in. It was to rent out the other room, possibly the living room, and house hack it. And then within a year or two, move out, buy another one, and kind of repeat the process. So I saw that Airbnb was really strong, but what was really good in our area is the medium-term rentals. So the medium-term rentals are pretty much anything 30 days and up. Or 30 days to like 9 months or under a year. And I saw those rents really strong in that area. And Airbnb is really popping off. There's a lot of really good ones, but there's also a lot of really bad ones. So with the idea that I had in mind, because it needed quite a bit of renovation and I could do a live-in renovation. So I knew once this was done, it would be a pretty solid property to be able to put on Airbnb or Furnish Finder. So when I bought it, I redid the flooring, parts of the kitchen, added an island. We redid all the windows, reconfigured the bathroom, added some paint in the one room, and redid all of the landscaping, put in a driveway, put in a fire pit in the backyard, and put up a fence. So it's really kind of like a cool vibe back there, and it's got a lot of space for people if they have dogs. Or little kids that want to be able to run around, and it's in a pretty solid area, pretty close to the downtown. So that's the idea I had when I bought it, and then life just kind of happened. So ended up getting let go from the job I was in, getting into a startup company, which then through that process, I renovated the house to what I wanted it to be, and then left that job soon after I finished, and then we went full-time into real estate investing and flipping. So those plans were kind of on hold, and I was really looking for the next opportunity. So I had on my bingo card or my goal sheet this year to be able to buy it and move into another house. So with that being really tough as a real estate investor, I knew I was going to have to get creative. And when I was on a mastermind call doing a deal breakdown, somebody said, "Hey, I have a house close to there that I'm interested in selling subject to. Do you want to check it out?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So went and walked the house, was able to say, man, I like this. It needs a little bit of DIY work to it. I'm like, if we could get this for $0 down, I would buy it. And he's like, yeah, that sounds good to me. So we bought the house subject to, moved into it, and then we furnished the Airbnb. So furnishing the Airbnb was oh my gosh, it was a little bit tough, or a lot tougher than I thought. All of those little things you don't think of that you need is just keep popping up. So I had a pretty good built spreadsheet, because when I first bought the house, I thought I was going to renovate it really quick and then be able to move out of the house pretty soon after. And then life took a turn. So I had this list ready to go for over 2 years, and I could finally use it, and I realized just how much I was missing off of it. It's like you don't understand all of those little things, how many towels you need, the soap, the cleaning materials, all of the extra utensils and plates, bowls, all of these little things you don't even think of till you actually get on it. So it took us about 2 weeks to be able to get that whole thing set up, and I hopped on this podcast right after I listed it. So we got it furnished, and I finished up everything this past Monday. So it's Friday right now. So I finished it up Monday. We got pictures done Wednesday. Pictures returned this morning into where I could finally list it. So getting it listed is a struggle in itself. So, what you have to put into it, you have to be able to spell it out for everybody, for that person walking in, because there's always going to be an issues. And they talk about, being able to just make it simpler for your person. Hey, if they were 5 years old, could they read this and be able to go and do the thing? So that's what you had to be able to walk through. When they're checking in, where everything is, how to use it, when the trash is taken out. We have the house labeled, all of the cabinets on where everything is in the house. And with it being our first one, we're going to figure out kind of, what we're missing, what we need to add, what we need to do. So we're excited to be able to, get started on that. Our goal is to keep it as a medium-term rental. So I sent the lowest amount of days that somebody could book for 14 days. So with doing that, hopefully we're going to be able to increase ourselves more as a medium-term rental, rather than, just a couple nights or just a weekend. So we may bump that around. We'll see how that goes. If we don't get any bookings here in the first week, then we're going to maybe look at some things, but I'll just put it out there. We'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to be able to share kind of what that looks like, because our goal is to be able to not really cash flow. We just want to break even. So we met our cleaner and we met one of our contractors who can kind of help out on the property. If I need anything, he's in close range to where, he could drive over, he could get it fixed, check it out, and knock it out. So we had him do some little things to the house, like replace the ceiling fans and a couple of the recessed lights in the house, to where hopefully there's no problems for a little bit of time. I turned down the water heater to be able to make sure nobody burned themselves because of when it got installed. And he says, "Oh, my wife's a cleaner. Do you want her to walk the house?" I said, "Yes, absolutely. Let's do that." And so I didn't think it was an outrageous fee. It's about $120 to clean that house. So, you're factoring that in along with all the utilities and utilities, water, power. You're factoring all of that in to your monthly rate. So let's just say the house gets booked for an entire month, and we set it at $99 a night. So I think that's pretty solid for what else is going on in the area, because there's quite a few other Airbnbs, but the thing is, their pictures suck. And, it doesn't look home and inviting. It looks like somebody moved out of their home in the 90s and just kind of left their furniture in there. It's not new. Doesn't look renovated. It looks like the sheets are going to scratch you up. And I said, our product, it is very plain, but I think we're going to be able to get that rented. So I'm excited to see kind of what happens with that. Very simple and basic, but we're going to see how that goes and see what we need to add once we have a couple of guest stays. But just wanted to update everybody on where that first Airbnb is. And so hopefully I'll have some feedback for you here in the next couple episodes. But Monday we should have next Tuesday, episode 170, we should have a deal breakdown for you for my first wholesale deal. And I'll be able to break down how I found it, how we found the buyer, and what the plan is going forward. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast with me, Chris Rickenbaugh. This was episode 169. I'll see you on the next one, and make sure that you stay tuned for these upcoming Friday episodes where I'm going to be bringing on higher level investors to be able to interview on how they built their businesses, share their stories. So make sure you tune into that. Next week is going to be Tommy McGill, who does the build to rent strategy and has kind of like a really cool lifestyle business. So make sure you tune into that. So we'll see you next time.